week, President Uhuru Kenyatta officially commissioned the Olkaria 4 geothermal power plant, adding 140 megawatts of much-needed geothermal power to the grid. Now, this is expected to open the path for a reduction in the cost of production of goods, which will ultimately lead to a lower cost of living. The cost of power to consumers is also expected to come down by about 30% by the end of the year, meaning that a household that probably used to pay 1,000 monthly will in the next month start paying about 700. So let's break this down for you. And in studio, I'm joined by Albert Mugo, Managing Director, KenGen. Thank you so much for joining us on KTN Prime. So 140 megawatts. What percentage of power deficit then does this address?
The 140 megawatts geothermal plant that was commissioned will contribute about 14% of electricity that's consumed in this country.
Why is this important for a common Kenyan? And by the way, he's an engineer, so I've told him to use layman's language. So, yeah. So why is this very important?
It's very important for the common man because it will bring the cost of electricity down. And going forward, we expect to see a reduction of as much as 30%, maybe towards the end of the year, as the president said when he was commissioning the plant.
Okay, earlier on we had some numbers we got from your office about how this will now bring the cost of power down. I'm hoping you can go to that super wall where we have numbers, the super wall that translates on the cost of power that Kenyans will now pay. How much will the cost of power now come down for Kenyans? Can you explain that for us? I'm hoping we can have the super wall that has numbers here in just a few minutes. The super wall that has numbers so that the Managing Director of KenGen can explain why these numbers will now come down and by how much. Director, please. There we go. Okay. So, explain to Kenyans why their power bills will come down.
Okay.
How?
This graph we see here...
You can actually walk through. Just walk through.
Yeah, this graph we see in yellow here shows that when you generate power from HFO, which is heavy fuel oil, it will cost about 18 US cents per kilowatt hour, which is 16 shillings per kilowatt hour. When you generate power from geothermal, the green graph you see here, it costs 7 US cents per kilowatt hour, which is about 6 shillings per kilowatt hour. So, which means now, for example, the power plant that was commissioned by His Excellency the President generates power that displaces power at a cost of more than 10 shillings. Now, in a month, we have found that this would translate to a savings of about 917 million. And in a year, that is about 11 billion Kenya shillings. What then that means is that in your electricity bill, what you pay as the fuel cost charge will reduce by about over 30%.
Fuel cost charge will reduce by over 30%.
Yes, and that has an overall effect on the entire bill because the bill has two components, the energy charge and the fuel cost charge.
So the fuel cost charge goes down?
Yes.
How soon can Kenyans expect to have this on their bills?
Linda, actually, the Kenyans are already enjoying this. For example, if I may, in the month of August, the fuel cost charge on the electricity bill that the customers received was 7.22 cents per kilowatt hour. And because this Olkaria 4 plant already started generating in June and July, in the month of September, that fuel cost charge reduced to 5 shillings and 71 cents. And in this month of October, that cost has already come down to 4 shillings and 79 cents.
So to our viewers who are asking when this will be affected, it's already there, so probably you can check your bill. How sustainable is this?
It's sustainable because once this plant now is generating, it runs as what we call base load, which means it runs on 24-hour basis. You don't shut it down except when you are maintaining the machine. So that saving will continue being there continuously for the life of the plant.
Okay, here's the question that a lot of Kenyans are asking. So now this is going down by probably 30%. Are there plans to get it lower than that? And how fast?
Yes, there are plans to get it lower than this because in the next 2 months or so before the end of the year, we are adding another 140 megawatts to the grid generating from the geothermal. What that means is that the savings of about 11 billion per year would then double when we add another 140 megawatts. And so we will see more and more geothermal displacing the generation from the heavy fuel oil, and that will continue as long as this plant will be operating.
Okay, so
Yes.
the other concern that a lot of Kenyans have as well is on stable power supply.
Yes.
Are they now assured of a stable power supply without interruption that they're used to right now?
Yes, we can say that because geothermal is not dependent on rain or weather and other things, is quite stable. So we will see that the
And if
generation...
you just step back a little so that our viewers can see. Yeah, okay, there.
Yeah, the power will be stable because geothermal is very stable. It is there all the time. It's a matter of fact, once we start that unit, we don't stop it unless we need to do some maintenance. So there will be no fluctuations in terms of the power that we give, and perhaps except for the occasional blackouts that you get when a power line comes down. But from the generation side, the power will be very stable.
Let's look at the cost of living. When the president was commissioning Olkaria 4, he made it very clear that they're trying to bring down the cost of living. How will this translate to the cost of living?
Yeah, because when you look at the cost of living, we are talking about the goods that the Mwananchi purchases from the shops, which are manufactured in the industries. When you reduce the cost of electricity, which is an input in the cost of production, then it means that the industries will see lower cost into the products that they produce. For example, during the commissioning, one of the manufacturers said that the cost of cement, which costs about 700 shillings per bag, if power reduces of about 30%, the cost of cement can come down to as low as 600, which translates to lowering the cost of living.
So basically Kenyans are looking at an affordable cost of living.
Yes.
Albert Mugo, Managing Director, Kenyan, thank you so much for explaining this in a layman's language. At least I'm hoping our viewers have understood how and when they will get cheaper power. Thank you so much for joining us on KTN Prime. All right, so there you have it. You have an illustration, an explanation of how you will get cheaper power in the coming days, if at all you're not already having that, because the Managing Director of Kenyan says that is already being effected.